Okay, well, welcome to our second episode of Mostly Peaceful. We kind of gave it a little subtitle now called the Unrestricted Invasion edition. I'm here with my other host, JJ Carroll, author and retired deputy chief in charge. You're going to have to get your title on that
Deputy Patrol Agent in charge.
Thank you.
All right.
So we're just going to go through it today. JJ and I talk all week long, so we figured we'd just turn on the cameras and not let all this knowledge, or at least very knowledge-inspired hypotheses, go to waste. And if there's time, we will definitely open it up for questions. If we don't get to that, certainly you can email your questions to myself or JJ, and we'll give you that information at the end of the cast. So without much further ado, JJ, we're going to start with you. What's going on this week? What did you see that caught your attention?
Man, there's so much going on the border. I had to write it all down because sometimes it's so overwhelming because there's so much information. I believe, and you and I have gone back and forth on this, I believe we are witnessing the complete collapse of the American immigration system as we speak. It is so overwhelmed. The numbers are spiking across the border. Right now, it's Del Rio. That's the epicenter of everything. Del Rio averaged, they got 45,000 in that part of Texas in 5 days. In 5 days. So what's happening in Del Rio? You're getting a mass influx of Venezuelans. So right now, they're coming in on trains. If you just go and Google migrants on trains, it looks like India. Like India, you know how they just get on the trains? There's like 1,000 of them on the trains.
I saw that video.
This is coming, and it's not one train, Brian. It's like multiple. In fact, one of the investigative reporters from News Nation, her name is Allie Bradley. She's amazing. She's down there. She just sent me a text, and she tweeted out that they're actually diverting one of the trains now, or multiple trains, from Del Rio to El Paso. It's a 7-hour more journey. So what that tells me, sadly, and it just confirms everything that I believe is happening, is you have a coordination now between the Mexican government, which is the cartels, and the American government. And you will hear people that are inside will tell you the cartels are running the American immigration system. So you have collusion between the two governments about where the trains go. And their cartels are moving through GMO, it's the Mexican military in Tijuana and the border. They're actually moving thousands and thousands of people daily up and down the border to where they want them to cross. And when I mean I'm talking about the United States of America government. So you have collusion, which I believe is treason. I believe all this is treasonous. So you're seeing numbers now spike to over 10,000 arrests a day. And you and I talked about this before. I got some intel the other day where Tucson sector, which is 262 miles, has eliminated all law enforcement on those 262 miles. Texas now has, as of yesterday, over 280 miles that they don't patrol. So that is just two sectors, states, but kind of like sectors, if you will, broken down, that do not patrol their border, meaning it's just a free-for-all. It is just a absolute free-for-all. So
why, if I may, why did they divert from Del Rio to El Paso? And the reason I bring that up is because I know near Del Rio there is Goodfellow Air Force Base, and that is a major intelligence training center. Of course, El Paso is right near Fort Bliss, which is just used to be armor and everything like that. Was there a reason given why they diverted?
Yeah, because Del Rio is beyond capacity. I got a source, Border Patrol source down in Del Rio told me, this was 2 days ago, so this has not changed. They have they call it soft-sided processing tent. It holds 1,000 people. Okay. Before this invasion, this accelerated invasion, there was 3,000 people in that tent. They have over 7,000 people have already poured in. They have 4,000 under the bridge. They closed, and this is very important too, is they close legal commerce and foot traffic, meaning people that have legal right to come back and forth over the border, close that there and in San Isidro in San Diego. So now we're impacting trade, business, and we're not talking small. We're talking enormous amounts of commerce coming from Mexico into America, labor coming into America from Mexico legally through cards, immigration cards. So you're seeing they're diverting because one sector or station is completely decimated and overwhelmed, and they're just moving it to another. Now, when I came on and said I believe this is the collapse of our system, something has happened, Brian, that I cannot figure out just yet, but I know it in my gut. And something has transpired between, let's just call it the two governments, and just knowing that when I say Mexican government, I mean the cartels. Our two governments something has shifted in the distribution center. Think of the cartels as Amazon, and they're moving packages. Something has accelerated the delivery process. I don't know if it's a mass influx of more illegal aliens coming up through Central America, which I'm seeing those Michael Yan and Miss Vandersteel down in Panama right now are saying exactly that they're seeing 4,000 people a day pushing through the Darien Gap. So, of course, you think of the Darien Gap in Panama is like this. Then you have Central America, and everyone else is coming in from all other airlines and boats. And then it's this mass bottleneck into America. And what you're seeing, one of Mayorkas, I'll give him incredible credit. He is strategic and he is bold. So what he just did,
not for our benefit.
No, he's a traitor. He's a traitor to our nation. He is a naturalized citizen that's a traitor to his new motherland. Okay, and it's in my book. I won't retract it. So what he has done is we now have right now just DHS, and I'm just going to use their data because it's damning enough, but I don't believe their data. But their data right now is about 700,000 Venezuelans have been arrested, and we've released them into our country. All of a sudden, Biden administration through Mayorkas today has granted all Venezuelans temporary protective status. Now, why is that important? You have to understand that temporary protective status gives those individuals under that, it's called TPS, under TPS gets protection from deportation, arrest and deportation, and they get work authorization documents. And they're available for all social services. So, and they gave them 18 months, okay? 700,000. They're already claiming that now the numbers are swelling because all they do is pick up their cell phones that we gave them. They call home and go, hey, you're going to get a cell phone and they're going to give you temporary protective status. Now, and I need the audience to understand, our audience to understand this. Temporary protective status is just Congress just continually re-ups. It goes into 6, 12, or 18-month increments, and they just keep re-upping. Well, let me give you an example of what that looks like. El Salvador has been under temporary protective status since 2001. 2001. That means they had to re-up it. If you just go to the DOJ EOIR website.
Can you explain what that status does with that, if you don't mind?
So TPS says basically the individual's home country is a war zone, economic disaster, cartels run, civil war, all of that type of disasters. Think of Haiti, think of Venezuela, Vietnam during after the war, El Salvador with MS-13. They're cleaning their country up now, but you understand Honduras, Nicaragua, just communism and people fleeing. So we give those individuals, those nationals from those countries, when they come to America, however they get here, we give them that temporary protective status. And we tell them, just like Mayorkas did today, every Venezuelan that's in our country and that is coming to our country will receive 18 months of this protection, meaning that Venezuelan could get caught robbing a bank. It could get, assault, drunk driving. We're not deporting that person. He's going to be put in jail, released, and then just let go on the street. They are untouchables. They cannot be deported under temporary protective status. And it basically, and I write in a Substack article that goes out tomorrow for all my paid subscribers, and I talk about just this subject, TPS, because it's so important to understand. It is basically amnesty. Okay.
So why El Salvador? I mean, isn't that home of MS-13, which is one of the most dangerous gangs in the world?
Yeah, but okay, you have to understand that until Trump, it is hard to wrap your brain around this, Brian. Mm-hmm. We would get MS-13 gang members, illegal aliens, deportable nationals of El Salvador. They would kill somebody, machete somebody in America, right, whatever they did. We'd put them in jail. And then when we got them out of jail, we would try to deport them in El Salvador. And not just El Salvador, many nations used to say, no, I'm not taking them. You can't put those people back in my country. They're killing my country. I went through my whole career where I was arresting El Salvadorians, people from Vietnam, and they were untouchable. They would hold up their document and go, no, I got protective status. You can't do anything to me. And they were right. Only until Donald J. Trump became president and he said, oh, you're not going to take them? Not going to take them back? And they were so used to the impotent, weak presidents and corrupt presidents that they said, no, we're not taking them. And Donald Trump did the same thing he did with the Northern Triangle nations in Mexico. If you don't take them, I'm cutting all your foreign aid. All of a sudden, Brian, my buddies in ICE were like, dude, we're doing trips all over the world. We're deporting everybody. Now all the nations are like, oh, yes, sir, Mr. Trump, we'll take them back because we need those green dollars of yours, greenbacks. So now under this administration, every MS-13 member, every gang member, insane asylee that has been kicked out of Venezuela, they're untouchable, Brian. Even if they do jail time, they're going to just be released on the street again.
So that's, to quote Bruce Banner from Avengers, this all seems horrible. And I don't take that lightly because right down the street from my place in Salem, Massachusetts, they're packing Salem State University with illegal immigrants from Haiti. And they're running into that. Yeah, that'll be great. And I just want to state, and I'll pull up the article. It was reported about a year ago when some of us started talking about the border. I know you've been talking about it for your whole career, that some of the, and this is not race baiting or anything like that, but it's more of a public warning that if you don't know about Haiti and the gangs in Haiti, let me just put it this way. MS-13 is scared of the Haitian gangs. And MS-13 has cleared out when the Haitian gangs come in. It's not all the Haitian people, but it's beside the point. And so what I always warn people about is certainly you have to be careful. Your neighborhoods are not the same anymore. It doesn't feel the same. We walk by the soccer field just down the road, and it's not a welcoming mob of people down there. And it's a mob. They're taking over all the...
Yes, they are.
And this isn't just hotels. It's just the low-income housing. And so what I have to tell people is you got to be careful. Going back to what you said about this, just something not feeling right lately. When you say lately, obviously it's all pretty screwed up and there's not a lot of precedent. There's no precedent for it. But how far back would you say something really significantly shifted? A few days, a week?
No, not even a week, maybe 5 or 6 days.
Gotcha.
It was about Saturday or Sunday. I started seeing reports and I started getting phone calls from sources that I haven't heard from in a while in different areas that were hot spots. And then they see what happens is the cartels make a certain area the epicenter, and then they overrun it so much, and they move it somewhere else, and then they make that the epicenter, and they just move it around the border, and we chase them. We, being the border patrol, just chase the cartels. It's beyond insanity. But I started seeing, okay, wait a minute. I'm looking at the numbers. The numbers have surpassed 10,000, and there's no ending. I'm seeing more videos of people posting migrants, illegal. They're migrants before they come to the border.
Yeah.
But as they cross the border, they're illegal aliens. I'm seeing more videos that are like, whoa, oh my God, that's about 5 to 10 people wide, and it's going for 3 miles.
That's
like
this.
Oh my God, and then I'm looking on trains, and there's thousands of people packed and stand on top of the train cars.
That was shocking.
And I'm like, okay, something's changed. Like, I didn't, to the average eye, you're just thinking, oh, that's chaotic. But for a guy that's been in it for almost 3 decades, I will see little nuanced changes, and it will make me stop. And whenever, and I'm sure it happens still in your makeup today, that when something makes you stop or pause, it doesn't really click in your brain yet. You just know intuitively, okay, something's not right here. I need to focus on this. It could be somebody passing the street, walking by your house, or seeing news coverage and piecing things together. And that's how I feel, Brian. I feel as if everything is collapsing, and I am not a guy that's dramatic or tries to sensationalize things. I'm just telling you.
I hear you.
We're seeing the collapse of the American immigration system right before our eyes, and it is frightening, because I am getting calls and text messages from guys all across the border. And you know what they all tell me?
What?
Dude, and guys that I rarely ever speak to right now are reaching out to me, and they're saying, I'm scared to death. I got an email. I woke up this morning, Brian, from a guy, and he's from San Diego, and he tells me, JJ, I am releasing terrorists. I'm releasing hardcore felons. I have people on the terrorist watch list. I have people on Interpol watch list, and I'm releasing all of them. And I'm like, holy smokes. Even though I know it's happening, it is just still frightening. And these are law enforcement guys that don't get really scared. And they're telling me, dude, and what they're fearful, but at the same time, they know what they're doing is wrong, right? Does that make sense? I know that I'm getting orders, and the orders are unconstitutional and they're wrong, and I'm hurting America. That's not the oath I swore to and the badge and gun I received. They didn't tell me.
So why are they doing it, if you don't mind? And that's not a judgment. But
no, I know why they're doing it, because they're all looking at their pension. They're all looking at the majority of these men and women that I speak to, they're usually about at least 15 years in, and they're in the middle of the chaos, and it becomes normal. And then they make the decision of they go home and they look at their beautiful wife and their 2 or 3 kids, and they're looking at their house and their cars, and they're thinking, nobody cares if I quit or not. Nothing's going to change. They're still going to try to destroy America. And all my guys tell me the same thing. I am just counting the days, and then I'm out. So, is that right? I'm not making a judgment on them.
Yeah.
I'm not making a judgment on them. I'm just saying, I'm telling you what their thought process is. But there is no morale in the Border Patrol, and things have gotten even worse because the mouthpieces, which are agents called public affairs officers, are parroting Mayorkas lies. Now, when the average citizen hears Mayorkas talk, he likes to use this verbiage of nothing has changed on the border. These are all legal pathways these people are taking. No, that's not true. You're lying. You created quasi-legal pathways to allow millions of people in. They're still illegal aliens. I mean, Brian, I could go down the list. I could walk the audience through how everything that man says and DHA put out is a lie. It's everything past the first stage of the feel good press release is a lie. Let me just give you an example. The vast majority of these people that are claiming asylum, they're being paroled in. And when they're paroled in, they're given about 60-day window to see an immigration judge or an ICE officer to get on the docket. They can't get on the docket in New York City till 2032. San Diego, they can't get on the docket to 2027. So after 60 days, these people become illegal aliens. They become we call it out of status. And out of status is a kind way of saying they are now illegal aliens. So you see the lies?
I do. And, so you mentioned, and, the pattern caught me. You're catching the pattern. We talk about patterns all the time. And of course, that was both of our job, was to recognize patterns, try to do some predictive interception.
Yeah.
And so the pattern I've been noticing, and this is a bit of a segue, but we're definitely going to get back to this.
Yeah, let's go.
We could do this every night, because I think I feel the same shift. And what I've noticed is, zooming out. Okay. What I've noticed is, since the end of August, there's been this rapid fire rate increase of everything bad. So for instance, unprecedented amount of indictments and charges and against the Biden administration's political enemies. Okay. Everyone from Peter Navarro to the Proud Boys to what's going on with Russell Brand.
Yeah.
Not only Russell Brand, but the guy that produced Sound of Freedom. And
Tim Ballard. And look what happened to Ken Paxton in the AG in Texas. I mean, if you've watched that story, whoa! If they can do that to Ken Paxton and Donald Trump, what in the hell can they do to me and you, Brian?
Well, yeah, and it's so Ken Paxton, Russell Brand. You see all of this. It's like a purge. Okay, yes. It's like, and I called it the month of the long knives on Twitter, but it's more than that, because it seems like to me, and this could be, just the way my mind works, but to me, we used to analyze like terrorist attacks, right? And so started in training back when terrorism wasn't in. And this is in the intelligence community and military intelligence. And we would look for things like, we'd reverse engineer a terrorist attack that already happened, where you'd look for the, increase in stolen cars, because those are part of their logistical plans, increase in bank robberies, that sort of things, to fund things. And then like multiple fires occurring in the city where it happened as distractions and whatever else. Yeah. And so what I'm noticing is the same type of patterns. Is this is beyond blatant. The train thing, I just can't get out of my head. But not only that, you have the train thing happens, and then I just caught this this piece of news the other day of the Chinese Communist Party. Xi Jinping and his crew visited Mexico, I think last Thursday, to increase their relationship. Okay. Yeah. And prior to that, 2 days before that, Xi Jinping was in, I think it's the 78th Regiment, whatever that is, but one of his army regiments, telling them, and he says this a lot, but this seemed more ramped up than usual, to prepare for war, get prepared to defend the homeland. And it scares me, because the amount of fighting aged men coming through, and I know people beat that to death, but you said it not 2 weeks ago when we were on, about your estimate was about 18 to 19,000 Chinese Communist Party, and they don't even need to be Chinese because of the Belt and Road Initiative. Any country
are Chinese.
They are
Chinese, right? And so I was having this conversation the other day, and I want to bring it to you and see what you what you think. And I like to do what you do. You pull back. Sometimes you get so in the weeds, right? Because it's so much happening, and I have to pull myself back and say, what what is going on? Like, what's the bigger picture? If you're China, Russia, Iran, Middle East countries that hate us, Mexico hates us, what is your perspective when you're looking at this? If I'm the CCP or Russia or Iran, I'm emptying out my regiments. I am pouring intel officers, my special forces. I'm dumping them in to the trek into Mexico, and I'm going to make them go through all of the journey, right? Because I want them to just file in with everyone else. And then you come into America and you set up your regiments and you get asked and you get told what you're going to do. And I'll give you an example. We found, and they swept it under the rug, in New York City, they found what came to like a police station, underground kind of, no one knew, but it was run by the Chinese. Mm-hmm. The Chinese had an actual police station, and they were saying, we're monitoring our nationals in America. No, they're not. No, they're not. When you, Brian, and I want to hear what you think of this and think that if I'm too far out, you bring in thousands of your military men. You have thousands of terrorists. I'm telling you, this is not, I'm not guessing at this. You don't
even need to trust me with me. Just roll.
So you have thousands of terrorists, and you have thousands of military age adult men in our country. What do you need? You need command and control structure. You can't just have them willy-nilly rolling around.
Right.
So now you find them in New York City as a police that we're just monitoring our nationals. Are we really this stupid? Or do we believe you have to? It's just common sense. What do you think of that, of me saying there has to be a command structure inside to manage basically battalions and regiments of warriors? Do you disagree with that?
No, I don't. And let me just fix the camera here. No, I don't at all. And I'll tell you why. Because plain and simple, what I see is this is almost like a lot of people call it the fifth column. You put a bunch of, not paramilitaries, but special forces type trained soldiers, which is unconventional warfare. So I spent most of my military in special forces as an intelligence team. And that's what you do. You're outside the box, kind of like, Mel Gibson in The Patriot, that unit he had.
Yeah.
So what you have, with the thing in New York, that's actually something, you're going to love this. That's actually something called part of Operation Fox Hunt. That is such an established, it's like a spy and harassment network. It's part of the United Workers Front, or whatever they call it. And so what it is, that thing has been operating since before Xi Jinping took over in our country, to the point where Obama knew about it. You could look up the New York Times 2014, where Obama is telling Xi Jinping, like, hey, gee, I know about that Operation Fox Hunt. Don't do that anymore. That's bad. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Because then it popped up again. And what they do is they are here to that particular part of it is not really command and control. That's more like the secret police. They're here to keep dissidents, to hunt down dissidents. And they're also here to keep Chinese nationals in line with the Chinese Communist Party while abroad. Okay. Or even, I wouldn't say recruit them, because they're already kind of recruited just being part of the People's Republic of China. But they also, there's the national, it's national law in China that every single Chinese citizen has to provide all the intelligence that they collected on their vacations, everything. And by intelligence, I mean everyone you met, every picture you took, everything. So everyone in the People's Republic of China is technically a spy. And people yell at me. I just say, look it up. It's right on the Chinese government's website. So there's that. But that's, again, that helps, because what happens after you conquer a country? You need military police.
Yes, you do.
To keep the, and you need that counterintelligence type of wing that's been set up. We've known about that for a long time. And 9 of them were arrested for Operation Fox Hunt in, I think, Trump's last year, like 2019, maybe 2020. It's an ongoing thing, to the point where they have a movie called Operation Fox Hunt in the People's Republic of China. They act like they're heroes. And some of our own press was like, oh, they're just capturing, people who are accused of financial fraud. Okay.
Isn't it amazing the lengths that our media will go to subvert truth, even when it will absolutely end in destruction? And you look at this, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
You have an incompetent leader in Joe Biden, meaning you don't have a strong, powerful leader. The Chinese and Russia have got to be looking at that.
Dude, you got weekend at Bernie's. Let's just not.
Yeah, you do. But you look at, but that's still the prestige. Even though we know our military is decimated with transgenders and all of that other stuff that means nothing about war, we are still a powerful adversary. So Russia and China does not want to attack us on a normal front, right? Like fly in, try to attack us, get in a land battle. Why would you do that when you can send your own armies into America, set up your regiments throughout America, and kill it from within? Why would you not do that? This is common sense.
I don't even think it's that kinetic. I think, well, it's kinetic, but I think it's more like cause chaos. Okay. And usually when you have a powerful adversary like the United States, and we are their most powerful adversary, you cause chaos, because what do you have to do when chaos erupts everywhere? You have to deploy your National Guard to put it down, or to pacify it. And at the same time, so you're redirecting a lot of your military towards that. Your regular forces, your regular military. So, there's the reserves, which is mainly support.
Yeah.
There's the regular army, which is everyone. And then there's the National Guard, which is, your armed, that's your militia. And so your National Defense Militia. So of late, since 9/11, National Guard has even been deployed overseas. So you tie them up. You don't have that force anymore. Your reserves, as you can see, are getting deployed all over the place, even Somalia and all these other places. And then your regular army they want to tie up the regular army with Ukraine. Now, there's been pushback on that, but they also decimated, especially the elite special forces of all of our services. They decimated those ranks with the COVID vaccine mandates.
Absolutely.
Now, whether this shot was meant to kill them or not, that remains to be seen. But what I am saying is, I know so many people that had to leave. And it seemed like I know more people, not because I was in those units, I was also in conventional units, but I've heard more stories about elite Navy SEALs, Green Berets, which are the Army, Marine Force Recon, the Green Teams in the Coast Guard, you name it. Pararescue, sorry, Air Force. But the thing is, it seemed like it focused on them first. And then what did it focus on outside of the military? Our emergency services.
Yep.
Total chaos. And then there's another thing as well, is you have this whole health movement thing, right? And they're trying to sponsor a One Health security bill and get a One Health security workforce, or some nonsense like that. So God only knows. I mean, God only knows what they're here for. But I think, and like Sam Faddis and some of the more experts on China than even me, Frank Gaffney, they agree this is a chaos column. Like, they are here to create a multi-front war, which tells me that a big attack is going to happen. I don't think it's going to be Taiwan. I don't think they need to attack Taiwan. I think they just need to keep us occupied so they can basically lay siege on that island. And I really do see China making a move towards islands in the Philippines, and there's another one, but I need to flesh out that theory. And they do follow these ancient war stratagems. That's what people can't wrap their heads around with the Chinese, is they actually look to ancient teachings for war strategy because it works. And the sixth stratagem of the 36 stratagems, it's like the rules for war basically that are thousands of years old. But the sixth stratagem keeps me up every night. And what that is, it says feign east and then attack west. So I'll give you the mic on that one. So in summary, what do I think it is? It's definitely planned. I mean, in command and control, I think those are more of your counter intel and secret police. I think command and control is overtly being built on Cuba as we speak because they're building a military base on Cuba.
Yep. I'm just talking about command and control in the sense of, okay, let's say I have 1,000, a battalion of, just say for lack of a better term for CCP, their army, a battalion of army, 1,000 men. You need officers. You need lieutenants. You need somebody that is going to direct them
not
when
for
that time has come.
Sorry, not for unconventional units. So, most like a Green Beret ODA team is 12 guys and they operate completely solo. And so they, they're trained. They have you get a directive, and then you carry out the mission. You approve your mission through your group commander, because the special forces when I was in was groups. And the president or the leader, they don't know the plans. Now, what you're talking about is conventional army. That comes more into play when conventional troops are deployed. I don't see conventional troops. Let's say there was going to be a kinetic attack. And a lot of people believe we're at that point because Xi Jinping's in trouble. The economy's failing. His back's against the wall politically. What do you do?
Yeah. I'm not saying in terms of.
I think you got the right idea. I mean,
I'm just saying that they're going to take those men and break it up into 12-man units or 100-man units, whatever it is. I just know that they're here.
Oh, yeah.
How they're going to be deployed? Are they going to wall each other off and just have very specific missions? Like, I'm going to Washington, D.C., and I'm hitting, the Washington Monument. I'm going to Chicago, and I'm going to start a race riot war in the ghettos of Chicago.
Typically, that's how it works.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. And but it's just there. And I know the terrorists are here. The terrorists are just waiting for their orders. And I think one of the things, Brian, that I am seeing, which is making me really, really pause, because for so long we were lied to about, and I knew this was a lie, but is the family units. Like, there's all these men, these women and children. And I knew that they were coming over. I knew partially that was true. But I would say in the last maybe 4 months, maybe 3 months, all I see, and I scour this stuff constantly, all I see is humongous groups of thousands and thousands of people, and they're all 18 to 25, 27-year-old men.
Let's talk about that. So I apologize to the audience because we're gonna have to do like 2 hours. I think we'll try an hour and a half next time because it's too much. I had mentioned that I was going to talk about the New Mexican conceal and carry thing.
You backtracked today. Did you see that?
That's good to hear because she's getting hammered. Now, give me a quick update. I did not.
I just saw it. Somebody posted on LinkedIn, and it was an article, and I just read like the first couple paragraphs real quick. And she has pulled back, I think, the concealed carry part of her emergency plan. So she's just getting, and I was thinking about her, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. She's dim-witted, right? Yeah. She's not real bright. And you look at the politicians generally are not very bright. They're like Marjorie Taylor Greene said it perfectly when someone asked her after her first year in Congress, well, what do you think about it? She goes, I'm not impressed. And I think that's the norm. So my question to you, Brian, is you have dim-witted people that just can win election. It's not her. She's just a puppet that the people underneath her are just pulling the strings and making her that straw man that they can attack while they implement these policies. Do you agree with that?
I think it's people above her in the sense of the federal government, and here's why. I do. You're talking when you said people under her. Do you mean
I just mean in her circle, the people that are running her, like Biden. You have his inner cabinet is running it, right? And I'm sure Soros and Alex Soros and all these other people are running it. But the people that he's been supplied with in his cabinet, they're running our nation.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And all you have to do on that note, all you have to do is just go to something called the China Forum out of UC San Diego. And I've tweeted this out, and I got to put all this stuff in Substacks. My wife is constantly telling me to consolidate all this stuff. But, you got Jake Sullivan's alumni. You've got the whole firm of Rice Hadley Gates for the most part. Pretty much all the people, that are kind of running things. But with her, it's really interesting because I have a few theories. They don't matter either way. But just to get it in my head, I started looking into, I always look at the target. So I started analyzing that. I put out a Substack on this. I think you read it. Well, I think she was used to test the waters.
I agree with that.
The extent of the Department of Health's power under emergency orders. And she was a canary. I say this because what I noticed right away was she was citing, when she said children 1 through 19, she was not even citing her Department of Public Safety. I mean, I had all the definitions here. Like their own definition says under 18 for juveniles and children. She said children 1 through 19 are the major cause of death is guns. Then I went to the NIH, and NIH is adults start at 18 or older. Okay. You go through, through Department of Public Safety, healthychildren.org, which is funded by them, 12 through 18. Now they're trying to squeeze it in because they also have young adult is 18 through 21. That's like kind of like saying kind of pregnant. I mean, you're an adult or you're not.
18, you're an adult.
Yeah. And so then, and then the convention, for the World Health Organization and the UN agree that it's below the age of 18. And I'll put all these links up for everyone. So I found this article that said 1 through 19 verbatim. And so then I clicked on and this had a University of Michigan. And I clicked on their link where their footnote, and it took me to the census page that had no reference to age. It was just like, I think they just said, screw it. Let's just throw it up there and they can find it. Yeah. In census, they have no age that I could find. They just say a child, a son or daughter by birth, a stepchild, an adopted child of the householder, regardless of the child's age or marital status, is a child. And then the thing I brought to you, then I noticed at the Border Patrol, not the Border Patrol, I believe it was DHS. Yeah. They have it as 21.
Yeah, it's a lie. Everything that we do on the border is 18 years old. Once they hit 18, they're adults.
So why? That's but isn't that like in the thing I was saying was that the treaty that those new standards for the border, and I'll get those up. But
it doesn't trump the INA, the Immigration Nationality Act that I was trained under. Nothing's changed. You become an adult at 18.
Okay, I'll post the link. I believe you. I'm sorry I don't have the link in front of me.
Well, that's a good segue into try to articulate exactly how Mayorkas and Biden are making these changes. They're making these. They're fraudulently creating new policy out of whole cloth and calling it the old policy. And that's how they're making these changes are within the minutia of DHS. So the average person gets caught up and hears the DHS speak, and they're like, okay, whatever. I don't even understand what you're talking about. And they do that on purpose until somebody that's been inside there says, whoa, that's wrong. It's against the law. That's not the policy. You're bastardized it to create something you want. And then they just shut you down. Oh, you're a racist. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I do know what I talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, and they, and I would say zooming out, I think everyone has to look at what's happening, the pace of things that are happening. For instance, it just seems like everything's falling apart, but there's this kind of, I guess the thing that really, really worries me is some of the majority of the politicians who I would call the bad guys, being that a cross-gender term, would they don't seem to care. Like they don't seem worried, and that's the part that scares me. Like you got Fetterman over there and his 15 body doubles, all wearing. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's all.
God dang it! It sure looks like it, doesn't it?
It's weird.
It's weird.
They changed the dress code of the Senate.
Yeah.
Like
think of that.
Well, that says a lot. And then the final thing I'll say is, so definitely I think there's something to do with China, Cuba, Mexico. And then look at the way Zelensky showed up at Congress today. What was he wearing? He was wearing an olive drab collared button down shirt, almost in the exact style of the Chinese Communist Party. I don't think a lot of people picked up on it. I went back and I looked at his old uniforms. He never wore anything like that. And if I'm wrong, I'm sure someone will post it, and I welcome that. Just be nice about it. We're all on the same side.
Don't you find it amazing when you think about the money that we spent on Ukraine, and the major leaders in both parties are in lockstep to fund? In fact, McConnell has been criticizing Biden for not giving them enough money, while America is falling apart. The stock market, several of the indexes dropped 2% again today.
Yeah, well, think about
people are losing trillions of dollars, Brian. We're not talking about. You and I haven't even talked about inflation and the economic despair America's in, and nobody will even say we're in a recession. Dear God. In order to get a house, you're now paying up to 8%?
It's unbelievable. But think about this and tell me if this has crossed your mind. Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. They just, there was an executive action where Biden put that out when he started, that he wanted ideas for how we could get on this central bank digital currencies.
But aren't we already there, though, in a way?
Cash still works.
It still works, but do I even use cash? I mean, it's almost as if I have cash just as a safety precaution.
But you can still use
somewhere.
But you can still use it. Here's the thing, though, is like the only way you will get people to willingly switch or be okay with this is if you drop the dollar and it's worth to nothing. Nothing else makes sense about the way we're spending money. It's like we want to devalue the dollar. So you devalue the dollar enough, people welcome digital currency and be fools to. But you see the way, and the banks, our adversaries, they get it. They're buying gold across global markets. But the central bank digital currency can only work if the value of the actual dollar is worthless. And then people switch.
Worthless. And that's a great point.
It works. I mean, it works. So like we're talking worthless to the point of like Argentina's money. If you saw the Tucker Carlson, that's something I'd have everyone watch, because that's the blueprint for what's happening to us.
It is. And everyone says, well, it will never happen to America. We're too great. And I'm like, what do you, it's happening. And just like you said, and this is a great point. So today I go to Costco, fill up my tank with gas. I have to go buy a couple things. I have to go to register my vehicle. It's about $1,700 today. So I'm not carrying $1,700 in my pocket, right? Physically, it doesn't really work, right? I'm not wearing a man purse, so I don't have a man bun. So I have to stuff it in my pockets. So you charge it. So in a way, what you're saying, and it's very true, the dollar's so devalued, and that's what people don't understand is it's not as if the dollar, it gets devalued. It just takes more of those dollars to buy a tank of gas, a gallon of
Right,
gas.
right.
And so now I need more and more and more. I mean, if I would have told you 5 years ago, here's $1,700, I don't think you're going to get through the day. You're going to probably need some more cash. You'd be like, what am I doing? That's going to cost me am I flying to Hawaii and staying at the Four Seasons? I mean, what? Right?
Well, I think the thing to remember though is like when you bring $1 to another country. Okay, so take Argentina as an example. Tucker Carlson brought, and I've been to Argentina I got to spend two months there when I was
place.
spying on construction companies. But they they were so depressed there. Like, and I love that country, I love the people, but he takes $100 bill and he gets a stack of money. And I remember when I was there, it was pretty bad. Not that bad. That's when Christina Kirchner was in charge. But what was crazy was, and I couldn't believe this, the dollar went really far. Dollar still goes far in a lot of countries because it's still the prime currency. Once that's gone, we're screwed. Yes. And that's the move that the BRICS are making now. They're moving against the dollar. And so if that happens, the world's going to change. People won't be able to ignore it because
we will become Ecuador and Argentina and Zimbabwe overnight because you can't print. Once they take us off the dollar, you can't print anymore. So, you're stuck with whatever amount you have is what you have.
Exactly.
You can't just say, you can't just print $2 trillion because of COVID and we'll just give it to everybody. And then we give it to everybody and everyone's just like, oh, everything will be fine. Does anybody have 2 or 3 brain cells that can function together in your brain?
Let's flesh that out. Let's flesh that out. Let's say, we're over, but let's keep going. So you have all these people that got unemployed during COVID. Okay. A lot of them never went back to work.
No, they didn't.
Okay. They left pot and alcohol open throughout the pandemic. Okay.
All churches closed.
Yeah, for the most part. And then until they started doing their segregation thing. And then, so you kill work ethic. Now, anyone who's ever gone on a good bender or tried out the new dispensary knows that your next 2 days of work are pretty much shot. So try most of our workforce sitting home, except for the laptop class who had jobs and thinking their jobs are going to be back. But guess what? Your job replacements are coming through the border now.
Absolutely.
Let's take that further. That's okay because they keep extending unemployment, but the money runs out. So what happens? Okay, what happens when they say, there's some new rules on those checks? You're going to have to put in 12 hours at the widget factory. Guess what? We're becoming, communist China at that point. And, people will laugh and people will say, oh, that would never happen. Where's the money going to come from? They're not going to just keep giving people money because they're handing. I mean, this is like Brewster's Millions with Eddie Murphy, where they have it feels like that, where they have this set timeline to burn as much cash as they can. And if people aren't familiar with the movie, there was a bet that he couldn't spend like $1 million or something. It was back in the 80s. So in a certain time, and there's this bet between these two rich guys. So he had to spend all this money to make like 10 million. And whatever the promise is, that's the thing we need to figure out. But in the meantime, JJ, and you're not going to like this because I know, I know it's heavy, but what can anyone do? There's got to be something. I mean, I always say protect your family, protect your home, and don't leverage yourself. That's the first thing. And always have firearms. I'll stand by that. What do you think?
I'll echo that. And, I wrote that in my Substack. I have to go back and do one more edit through before I post it tomorrow. And in my final part of my article, I just say, my whole life, I've been an optimist. I wake up, I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm gonna work hard. Things are gonna be good. All I have to do is just keep grinding, things are gonna happen. That's not how I feel anymore. I don't feel optimistic. I feel like I'm a realist. And I think as you get older, I think you just become more mature and you see things because you've experienced them, and you're looking at bigger than yourself, and you're seeing, oh, this is not good. And so when you ask me, what do? I have, we talk about zooming out. When I start thinking about what I can do, I zoom all the way down to my family. And I think, I'm going to take care of my wife and my son. And I have to prepare myself to do very, very bad things. Like I had to do in the middle of the night on the border in order to survive. And as I've removed myself being retired, I am talking to myself. Maybe it makes me sound crazy, but I talk to myself about still be engaged. Look at your surroundings. Look around as if you have your gun and your badge on. Think of yourself as a target. Because the moment that I slip away from that mindset, I think that's when I'm going to fall into trouble. Does that make sense to you?
No, totally. I mean, look, for me, I've never lost that mindset, just because when I got out, I went into contracting. Then I had my own security business. I was doing close protection. And then, I can't help it. I have to explain to people when I meet them that if you see me constantly head on a swivel, I just can't shut it off. And I think you're right. I think people the irony of it is people need to think like people throughout most of the world have to think every day forever. As you get to your cave, you lock it up, you have a community to mount a defense, that sort of thing. But you have to take care of each other and don't let politics get in the way of it. I'm surrounded by, I'm just outside of Boston. I'm surrounded by liberals. But you know what? We've got a good, tight community, and we take care of each other. And we all know when someone doesn't belong on our street. And that is politics blind. And, unless you can't trust them, then of course you use your judgment. But what I would say is this is not, at our level, at the citizens level, they want us to be divided. And everyone says that, but it's true. Do not, right and left and center, don't let that be a blinder. If there's someone in your community that you get along with and they can help you and you can help them, start setting up your parallel economies now. Start setting up your community. Start setting up that open line of communication so you can say, hey, does this look right to you? Nah, dude, doesn't look right to me. All right, why don't you come on over and we'll figure this out. Because if you don't have that, you stay separated just because someone has a Trump or a Biden flag on their lawn, that's exactly how they want you. Like, no one wants to. And so I always say that to people. That's what they can do. And and read, for God's sake. Like, I'm so impressed that
just get educated, please. Just get educated on. Just find websites and writers you trust and spend 15 minutes.
All of this stuff has happened a few times in history. It's all happened.
And it's going to repeat itself because we're ignorant. We're humans. We can't consume what's right and wrong. It's just, but it's the simplistic mistakes that we keep doing as if our leaders, AOC, Bernie Sanders, McConnell, they're smarter than Mao and Lenin and Stalin and Castro, right? They have more brain power. So socialism and Marxism will work this time because we're smarter than them.
You're being facetious. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to allow AOC. AOC has power. Maxine Waters, that racist thug, Maxine Waters, those are the people that have power over my life in the bigger scheme of policy and law. Think of that. That's frightening. And those people think that they can run the world better because they're smarter than you and I, because we're just rubes.
Well, and think about this. So you bring up a good point. And this is, again, like, I like to leave people with what they can do. And it might not seem that sexy to say, work on your community and all that, but trust me, that's war. I mean, that's, it's boring most of the time, but you're constantly building up your defenses. You dig a foxhole, you're constantly improving it. I'm sure you guys had similar type of outposts that you're constantly improving, cutting the shrubs down so you have line of sight. And it's, think of that, in a civilian world, not so much, anything but figuratively and literally. But think about, okay, how can they get me and how do they control me? So think about it. AOC, if people weren't addicted to social media, would have no power. And so what I tell people all the time is give yourself a window for Twitter and everything. And I break my window all the time, but try it and give yourself something else to do except for social media. Because guess what? I can't remember a time where after I did a really good tweet and stayed on there for like an hour or so that I felt good. I felt like I just ate a Snickers bar and because I was hungry and then I felt like crap. And then, versus, even Substack's better, like get on there and write something, put your thoughts down in some way, and look, I'm sending this out to all the people that I get so many people that write to me. My wife used to, and then when she got deplatformed from Twitter, they all started writing to me. I give this to your wife. It's like, man, she's, no. But the thing is, they'll write these huge DMs to me with sources. And I'm like, take this and put it in a Substack and I'll publish it for you after I check it. So what I say to people is learn everything you can, because you can teach yourself how to do predictive analysis and you can see what's coming next if you just educate yourself. Like anyone who gets on this vein, like again, my son who's 12, who told me he hated Donald Trump like 2 years ago when I asked him why, he couldn't give me an answer. So I kind of got him educated on what propaganda was. And now he's like, Dad, check it out. They got the purge law in Chicago. They're going to make a bunch of illegals cops, and this means this and this means this. And, oh, that's right near the Great Lakes. That could be an entry point because Canada's friendly to China. I'm like, damn, that's really good. And, now the kids know, he actually knows more than me about certain historical areas that now it's forced me to read more and get back in the habit of reading. And look, I got to say, it's like, you feel like a Superman after you wrote a whole book. I know that feels good. I haven't written one, but I live with someone that just wrote 3 in 2 years. And, or just when you, it is, and you learn more. I mean, you probably know more about your subject after writing a book. So what I'm saying to people is learn the knowledge, share the knowledge, and don't share, you could share it on Twitter, but share the link to your Substack. You're going to feel better. You're going to have a clearer mind. And you're going to say, hey, that's messed up. You're also going to be healthier, and if you have a healthy, clear mind and you're not sitting in front of, no offense to Twitter, look, it's a tool that's out there. It's part of our lives now, but people are too addicted to it. They're too addicted to their phones. I make a point to lock up my phone during the day now. You're going to have more power. You're going to start working out again. You're going to start shoot. I shoot every day now. And if I'm in Salem, I don't shoot at the range. I use that laser thing, that iTarget Pro. You make a routine, just like when I was in the military, and you get back to that and you're going to feel empowered again. And if the shit does hit the fan, as they say, you've got a routine. You know what to do. Go ahead, JJ, hit me with some of your wisdom, man. We gotta roll this up.
My wisdom is just educate yourself, learn, question at everything. I tell my son, and I don't even know if this is the right thing to tell him, but I believe it. I tell him, I want you to question everything, son. I don't want you to believe just because even your dad, that I just tell you something. If it doesn't sound right, I need you to go look and see if dad's correct or not. And if I'm not, I want you to challenge me in a very respectful way, but challenge me and say, Dad, you said X, Y, and Z about the Congress. It's not happening that way.
Right.
I want that critical thinking. I think it's valuable. I think it's important. And I don't believe Americans in this day and age should trust anybody in law enforcement, anyone in government, in religious life. I think you have to question everything. And this is a guy that's a devout Catholic and Christian. I question everything that my faith leaders tell me.
Oh,
everything.
You have to.
Everything the government tells me. Every time I meet a politician, I immediately feel as if I'm being jolted to be a human lie detector. And as you read and you write things, as you said, and I do this to myself, when you write, you're forced to double and triple check what you're writing is correct, because you don't want to be called out being a liar or being somebody that's not honest and truthful. So just, I say, be engaged and question everything. I sound like a 60 hippie now.
No,
When I
no,
think
no.
about it, you question everything.
I mean, that's where we are. And I just want to say, that, this really got my little nephews, who are making fun of my son because he doesn't want a TikTok account, nor would I let him have one, but he doesn't want one because he's read all the data on it. And to read some of that data on NIH, it is the digital fentanyl of the world. But it should be pretty telling to people that in China, there's a limit. Like, it automatically shuts off after a very short time because the Chinese government, from where TikTok comes from, they know the dangers of it.
Yeah.
And they want their youth are going home and studying, and so
what's our youth doing?
Well, I know mine's doing, but I can't speak.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, our education system is collapsed.
It is. And someone said today, like with teachers, they said it's like 1 hour of learning and 7 hours of crowd control.
Yep.
Is how they're, and it's going to get worse now because now they're diverting resources, like here in the Boston area, to hurriedly finding people that can speak Spanish.
Yep. Good luck. Spanish is the least of your worries. Try to speak whatever the hell they speak in Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
And, just name a country. They're coming,
Well,
it's crazy. It's crazy, Brian.
Yeah.
I think I really am fearful for our nation. If you want to know the truth, for quite a while, I've been feeling this way, but the last probably 4 to 6 days, it has accelerated, and something inside me makes me very concerned, and that makes me more concerned that I don't know exactly what it is, but I know something's happening. Something is not right now on the border. The type of people that are crossing, the numbers of people that are crossing, I think that there is a catastrophe. We're on the precipice of a catastrophe, and I hope I'm wrong.
I think it's happening. I am now. And well, let's wrap it up there really quickly. Let me just see if I can't, so for some reason only one of our feeds shows. I do have Getter over here streaming. I can't tell if they're talking to me or just arguing with each other. Okay. Yeah. It looks like Dee Tudor was on first. So Dee, if you are still there, do you have a question? She did say, this is the Great Reset, WEF, Klaus Schwab. Yeah, maybe, but, certainly. But personally, I think, and I'll stand by this, and a lot of people disagree with me, I think once all the work is done to get into the European markets, and which are already in the Chinese Communist Party, who are the only ones that have the guns and the armed forces, are going to impose their will even on the WEF. A lot of people, for some reason, just don't want to believe that. And Didi, I'm not saying that's you, but I always say, like, how, just like he said in the beginning of Lord of War with Nicolas Cage, something about, the only thing that changes history is bullets.
Yeah. But I do agree with Didi that this is the global reset. And the reason I say that is you look at the Western nations, all of the Western leaders say the exact same thing. You're seeing this mass influx of third world people coming into the Western. And then I always argue this back, Brian, is I'm not guessing. They're saying it out loud. All of our leaders are saying, let's do it. It's a great time for a reset. We're going to reset, a global reset.
But really, what is that reset, though? It's just, I mean, it is just the great
I believe it's going to be no borders. I think it's going to be nothing but an incredible free flow of goods and people where no societies, everything's equal, which never works out. It's always destruction. And I believe that's what it is. I just believe that the elites think that they're smarter than us and they're going to try to control us, and they're winning. They're just winning.
And I think when I look at the Great Reset, and you look at, and I agree with you, there is a great race, the Great Reset. I think that's an intermediate step.
It could be a bigger step. Yeah.
I think the bigger step is with China being in charge of the world, as they've stated, by 2049, with the China Dream. And that helps them get there. You make a collectivist society with no borders and no sense of history, which is always the Marxists always attack the children and history.
What are they doing in America? Attacking our children through transgenderism, all that other gender stuff, and then they're tearing down our monuments.
Tearing down the monuments. This, the 1619 Project was just bogus, and they're not. I mean, my wife caught it. Like in my son's curricula, they had misspelled Plymouth. Like, how do you misspell Plymouth? And I'm noticing that more and more
because it's not important anymore.
Well, you just
knowing where we came from.
Well, and just look at, just case in point, and we do have to get off soon, but case in point, Boston Sunday Globe. Tell me that's not an attack on history. They want to change Faneuil Hall. Because
can we all get away from looking back at history from our beautiful, saintly Mother Teresa eyes and stop being so arrogant to think that we know everything, that we know everything that was going on? The slave trade, there was more Europeans sold to the African traders than the Africans were slave trade to us. We're the first nation to say, or first civilization with the British to say, no, this is abomination. We're not doing it anymore. We don't even teach that. We just teach that America was the only nation that had slaves. That was the currency of the world, Brian.
And keep in mind, and it's all horrible, and I'm glad the world.
Yes,
changed,
of course.
But the irony of it is, the irony of these type of this road we're on. People need to remember this is a 100-year war. Okay, whereas Michael Pillsbury said, great China scholar and academic, he wrote a book called The 100-Year Marathon. So 2049 is the year because that is a 100-year anniversary of the modern CCP. I mean, it was formed before that, but when they really officially took power in 1949. So, and you could flesh this out. It's like kill the history, kill everything. But what's ironic about like this looking back and and here's the thing too, when you really read this, and we should do an analysis class or something for people where, and a lot of people know this because a lot of people have become really good analysts with no training over 3 years of lockdown. If they made one mistake in the lockdowns, the powers that be, they left the internet on. It's like I talk to people that are like, you'd never guess it, and they're telling me about the history of like ancient Mongolia. I'm like, that's pretty amazing. But when you really look at these type of articles, I always look at who's writing it, and then I look for little keywords like this. They have no direct evidence of him ever being a slave trader in this entire article, none. And that's, and I don't believe in changing history anyways.
No.
But that's the thing. And I don't want to really get into the minutia of, slavery and everything, but I'll get I'll get out talked about. It's not, my thing is, it's like, it's all, if you remove the subject and look at the trajectory, it's all attacking history. And when you attack history, you're attacking your national identity. Okay. And when you remove the national identity, you have nothing left to fight for. The biggest threat to anyone who would invade this country, let's say they're going to, is the largest, if you count the amount of gun owners in this country, it's one of the largest standing armies, if not the largest standing army in the world. There's so many guns here, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's kept that in two giant oceans, but that's kept people, that's a pause. I mean, seriously, like someone told me, and I can't cite this. Someone had actually told me at the beginning of the pandemic that, and I'll find the report, that the recent version of Red Dawn with that dude that played Thor, like Chris Hemsworth, was like the most downloaded movie on in the Chinese like Hong Kong areas and all that.
Really?
Yeah, and by some officials. So if you were watching that movie, just like if I were watching, well, just like when we grew up watching Vietnam movies, you're watching that. We're both too young to have been in Vietnam, but it's like you look at that, you're like, oh hell no, like why'd we even go there?
Yep.
And so when people see that, so that's you take, but if you take a reason to fight away, even the people with the guns won't defend. And that's, I think, what you say is super smart, super wise, and motivating. Even is, our families. If you don't have a family, your close friends, your neighbors, that is your country first and foremost. Okay, that's what you protect, and you have to protect that, because you'll notice they're trying to take that away too.
Yeah.
Okay, you remove that, you have nothing left for it. People just give up. And if you want to know what that world looks like, I would just say to people, just read Fahrenheit 451, where people don't even pay attention to the wars anymore. It's a really prescient book. They don't even pay attention. It's like, oh, there's another war. Oh, and books, the fire department's job in that book is, was it Ray Bradbury, I think? Was it? I just read it too, but it's probably right behind me. But the thing is, in Fahrenheit 451, the fire department's job is to find and burn books so people don't have knowledge. And it's the wall talks, kind of like the internet, and she's always laughing about something happening. It sounds very much like Twitter. When I read that book, again, because I hadn't read it since I was a kid, I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, like this guy was like, this is literally happening right now.
I know.
So JJ, let's do a to be continued. Do you want to get any last word in? And
no.
Just
right. please visit my YouTube and Rumble channel, where I post my videos and have my book out, Invaded, on Amazon.
Yeah, and I want to say too, JJ is putting out some content that will get published. And have they published? They've published yours.
Yes,
so
my
far.
first article on Daily Clout.
Daily Clout.
Yep, it was just published 3 days ago. 3 days ago? Yeah,
I think 3 days
ago.
So,
and then I'm working on my second article, so I'm excited about that partnership.
I'm excited too. And I've read Invaded. It's a great book. I actually got the audio book after I got the real book. Actually, I need to send you the book so you can sign it and send it back to me.
It sounds good.
And then as you're expanding your knowledge, another book I do want to recommend, and I want to thank him and apologize that I hadn't put this out publicly yet, to understand, get that full circle knowledge. Joe Allen recently, that is Steve Bannon's editor for all things artificial intelligence, just came out with Dark AI. Highly recommend it. He was kind enough to send me and my wife a nice copy, and so I'm proud of that. That's what I'm showing Joe Bot.
It's good.
It's excellent. It is fantastic, and excellent book. And I'm on my second read, and so definitely recommend that, because really what Joe does is he takes a look at it from not only like the tech perspective, but also that theological perspective, and it's about where we're going and what that looks like, and kind of like I would say, I'll just say read it. It's a great book. Congratulations, Joe, and thank you so much for sending us both a copy. And then I'm also going to invite Brandon Weichart on here, and he wrote a great book called Biohacked. Oh, sorry. So Biohacked is another great one. And this is so sourced, it will scare you. And I do have an interview with me and Brandon. It's like 4 months old. I'm probably gonna have to update it. But this is an amazing book by Brandon Weichart. I've read this like 3 times now. And
really?
Well, for me, it really connected a lot of the dots. As anyone that follows me, or my wife, we were I'm not gonna say, oh, we knew, but I was wearing a mask in the beginning because I thought it was a bioweapon, and I still think it's some sort of a bioweapon. But I was wearing a mask because, like, oh yeah, shit, yeah, China does this shit all the time. I better put on a mask. It's not going to do much, but better than nothing. But I got rid of that right around the time BLM was a public health emergency. So I was like,
Yes.
okay. So, but the thing is, like, what Brandon really did in that is connected a lot of those dots. And I was like, oh, that's what that means. He did excellent research. He's a really wonderful guy. He's just on, I think, with Naomi on Dr. Drew recently, and he's a great guy, and it's a great book. So definitely recommend Biohacked if you haven't read it. And the latest, this is an amazing book, and I want to get that poster and frame it. It's awesome. And they're both really great guys. I've known and talked to them both for quite some time now. So really, they write like they talk. And it makes sense the way they write. They can really translate pretty complex issues and studies into things that, even I can understand. So definitely recommend it. And of course, JJ's book is what I always tell people about JJ's book, Invaded, is you feel like you're in JJ's boots when you read that book. Like you really do. And you really get the sense of this eating, breathing, living monster that the border is, and how it affects our world. And it really stays with you when you read his book. And it's very crystal clear. Like, there's so many things I always thought that came crystal clear when I read your book. So of course, Invaded is another one. And I apologize, it's in my other house. Invaded by JJ Carroll. Yeah. And so that's pretty much lots of knowledge. Read. And it's weird thing, the good thing about like strikes and wokeism, it's made the movies and TV so crappy that I'm doing more reading anyways.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. Me too.
There's nothing to watch.
No, you're right.
So yeah, but JJ, that's got a lot more to cover. We didn't get a chance to, but
we'll got a whole nother week
anytime. And what I would say is, I'll save that part. Sending your questions, or subjects you want us to cover. People have written to me and said, hey, you got to get this guy on. I'll try. I mean, if, I'm not, it's hard to get I can't just call Russell Brand and say, get on a show, but I'd like to, but I can't. But I will always, someone sent one recently about, I forgot the general's name. I did take the time to watch the videos, and it's certainly someone I like to talk to. They say they have a differing view on China than I do. But the point is, we'll try to, but the key thing is not only send us your questions or topics you'd like us to cover. And if it's not really in our field, and JJ, I think if you'll second this for me, I'll refer you to someone that it's like, if it's AI, I'm going to send you to Joe Allen's site. If it's about biotech and biohack, I'm going to send you to Brandon's. If it's about the border, I'm going to send you right to JJ if we're not on. But what I will say too is share with us, and citations, and you don't have to write it up, but send us a link or send photo, video, everything, especially people in the border towns, but really everywhere now. If you're in Staten Island, don't just tell us what's going on, show us what's going on, and we will share that if we can verify it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
great talking to you. I appreciate
you too.
the time.
Always a pleasure, man. You take care.
Right, and have a good one.
I'll post everything on the site. So, all right. Thank you, everyone.
Sounds good. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Talk soon. All right. Bye-bye.